With 2 weeks to go to Halloween, it finally feels like fall around here. I don't know what it's like where you live, but here in the Northeast, it was in the 80s up until last week. And normally, I don't really mind that. I love summer, but I'm ready for Halloween season. I'm ready to curl up on the couch with a cup of tea and a horror movie.
I'm ready!
So in this video, I'm going to share a couple movies that I like to watch every year. I usually get around to them most years. Before we get started, my name is Chris. You can find me across social media as the Baba Duchess. I am a part-time movie critic and horror blogger and a full-time drive-in mutant. And I'm ready to talk some classics. Not all of them are really classics, but you get the idea. Obviously, every year I do try to watch the granddaddy of them all, which is John Carpenter's Halloween. This year I will try to make more of a point too, because I just got this, which is, I'll make sure the camera can see it here. I just got this 4K Blu-ray edition. I picked this up at Walmart. It's got the glow-in-the-dark cover. They actually have quite a few titles there, so check them out. A whole bunch of good stuff there. This is the only one I let myself buy, though. I'm really excited to see this in 4K. I just bought a 4K player, and I can tell you, I didn't really expect there to be all that much of a difference, but there really was. I was watching a black and white Hammer film, and even the black and white looked absolutely striking, so who knew? But yeah, obviously I don't need to say too much about John Carpenter's Halloween. It's got the music, it's got the babysitters, and a guy stalking them. What else do you need? So we're going to move on from that one because I really couldn't add anything to what hasn't already been said about it. I'm going to try and focus on some that they're not exactly neglected. I mean, people know who these movies are, but maybe some that aren't always in the same list that you see over and over again. First, I want to talk about Trick or Treat. This is the anthology one, not the 80s one. And this is 4 stories, some would say 5, but really 4 individual stories following different people on Halloween. You have a principal who may have a dark secret. You have the story of the virgin looking to have her first time, but they don't really specify what kind of first time we're talking about. We also have the prank, which is one that is really close to my heart as someone who did get picked on a lot, where you have this group of, let's face it, asshole kids who are picking on a neurodivergent classmate, and they get some comeuppance. And then we have the story of the curmudgeon, who is the next door neighbor of the principal from the first story, played by Brian Cox and made to look like John Carpenter. And he gets a visit from Sam. And Sam is where people say that this is kind of the 5th story. Sam, you can see Sam. Whoops, pointing the wrong way. There's Sam. He is, in my opinion, the spirit of Halloween. He's making sure everyone's following the rules. If you don't follow the rules, you're going to get punished. And the curmudgeon, he doesn't follow the rules. This is really his story as much as it is Sam's story, but Sam does show up throughout. I fell in love with this movie the first time I saw it. It has some great music choices, got a good cast. Of course, I mentioned Brian Cox. Dylan Baker is in it. He's the principal. If you've ever seen Bad Santa, the main kid from Bad Santa, he's in that one as well. It's just a fun movie that kind of covers all the bases of what makes Halloween Halloween, you know, from the neighbor who doesn't celebrate and just is nasty to kids, to people partying, to kids getting up to no good. To me, it's just everything you could really want for the season. You get a little taste of everything, and it's not overly long. Anthology movies aren't always my thing. I do like a fair number of them. I like the VHS movies, but this one is just a classic that I just keep going back to. I know they keep talking about maybe making another one. I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever see that. But in the meantime, have fun with this one. I usually kick off Halloween season with The Watcher in the Woods, which I've talked about in another video that I've done when I was talking about movies that scared the crap out of us Gen Xers. And I will leave that at the end of the video, so if you want to check that one out as well. And this one has everything, again, that you could want in a Halloween movie. You've got this creepy British manor house right outside of the woods. You have Betty Davis playing this very almost witchy character, even though she's not a witch. You've got a teenager and her younger sister who may have psychic abilities, and all this spooky stuff that's going on that started with a ritual that was performed 40 years ago. That one is Disney, and you cannot stream it anywhere. This is where I get on my high horse about physical media. I know I can dig mine out of my collection anytime I want to watch it. So I think you can buy it from Disney, but I don't think it's that hard to track down. But yeah, you do have to buy that one. But that is usually my Halloween season kickoff movie. It's PG, so we're easing in a little bit. We're not starting out with the heavy stuff, but it's just something I really enjoyed as a kid, and I still really enjoy it as an adult. Now, a newer one to me that it is a classic, and I'm not saying a classic in the broader sense of horror movies, but for me, it's a personal classic. I love Hell House LLC. This is a found footage movie which focuses on a group of people who are doing one of those Halloween haunts where they've taken like this abandoned hotel and they're going to deck it all out and make it this huge haunted house experience for people. And of course, everything goes wrong. So you're following them, but you're also having a film crew that is investigating this. So they've pieced together all the footage from the people who are doing the haunt. And I thought it was a unique angle to do a found footage movie where you see some of what goes into putting together these haunts. And of course, like the boring day-to-day, this person isn't where they're supposed to be. You see some of the tensions building between everyone who's involved. You see the documentary crew putting everything together, these people that they're interviewing who are knowledgeable about what happened. Because this abandoned hotel where they decided to do this haunt, it had some bad stuff happen in it, of course. So people are hearing weird noises in the middle of the night. There's the feeling that people are watching them. And of course, we have creepy clowns, which, I'll be honest, the creepy clown thing just doesn't really do it for me. I don't like clowns, but I'm not scared of them. I don't find them funny, and I don't, for the most part, really find them scary. But in this movie, they really use it effectively. Like, I genuinely got creeped out. Other than that, the only clown that's ever really made me feel uneasy is Art from the Terrifier movies, although technically he's a mime, but we still call him Art the Clown. We're finding things not where we put them last. And this all culminates on opening night where something goes horribly wrong. So I really like that one. It's got quite a few sequels with another one coming out, and I have enjoyed all the sequels. I mean, the first one to me is still the best. I've enjoyed all of them. It's a solid franchise as far as I'm concerned. So if you like found footage, you like that documentary style, I'd say check it out. I'm not saying it's the most original story in the world. It does have a lot of familiar tropes, but I think the way they told it was a little bit different. Now, a more recent addition to my yearly Halloween watches is the original miniseries of Salem's Lot, which I just watch as one 3-hour movie. And that's another one you can get, if you're interested, you can get that at Walmart in the glow-in-the-dark cover. It looks really cool. I already had it on Blu-ray, or I would have picked it up, but I have to keep telling myself I'm not going to get it just for the cover. But this is, of course, based on the Stephen King book. And I think they do a really good job of condensing everything. They had more time. It was done by Tobe Hooper, who unfortunately is a director who I don't really think he got a lot of the respect he deserved while he was with us. But this keeps the story of the book and the spirit of the book while having to kind of, trim the edges and not include every little thing. But it does it very well. And you have this writer, Ben, who is coming back to his hometown because there's this house that has always fascinated him. From when he lived there as a child. And now he's kind of using it as the centerpiece for his new book. And alongside with Ben, you have a young boy, Mark, who lives there. And he's noticing that things are happening in his town that don't seem right. There are some deaths, including his schoolmate and his younger brother. And Mark just thinks there's a more sinister force behind this. So, of course, this takes place in Maine. And you have all the characters that you would expect to meet in a Stephen King story. You have a small town doctor, small town teacher. And now this new antique shop is opening up. These two partners are opening it up. And one we know right away, but the other one, they haven't met yet. He's just always away on business. But there is something mysterious going on up at that house. And what I do like about this adaptation is that you do get to know quite a few of the characters. Yes, you're following the main two, but you do get a sense of the town and the people who live there. You'll spend some time with the sheriff, you'll spend some time with a local real estate agent. So as mysterious things start happening and people start dying, it doesn't just feel like a throwaway where, well, whatever, that person's gone. You really are invested. This is a vampire tale, as I'm sure you're well aware. And really, the vampire, you only really see him for about 9 minutes on screen, but that is some badass makeup. It is a badass performance. And it holds up really well. I wasn't sure if it would, for something that came out in 1979, but, done with someone like Tobe Hooper, it really holds up just as well. There might be a couple moments that, maybe a little bit cheesy. For the most part, this could have been a theatrical release and I wouldn't have known any different. The remake, I think I appreciated what went into it. They obviously cared about and knew the story, and there were a lot of visuals that I liked, and I think they pared it down pretty well considering it was a standalone 2-hour movie. I'd say it's worth watching. I just wish it was better. And here's my oddball one that I know is one of those who just really love it or hate it. And actually, the first time I saw it, I didn't like it. I honestly don't even know why I rewatched it, but I did, and I'm glad I did. And that is Rob Zombie's The Lords of Salem. I know. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of his wife's acting, but I think in this one, because it is a more subdued role, I think she did really well with it. I know the characters she's played in a lot of other ones, like I know the characters are obnoxious, but I also kind of feels like she just ramps it up to like 11, and I'm just not having it. But when I saw this, I'm like, she's really not a bad actress. This was just better material for her. And we start off in Salem in 1692, which, if you ask me, that had to have been a horrible time to be alive. Just in general, it just seemed absolutely miserable. But you're in the midst of this witch's ritual, I guess we'll call it. And at the same time, you have this preacher who is writing down about these witches and how he's got to hunt them down. And then we go to modern day and his descendant, played by Sherry Moon Zombie. And she is a radio DJ, and she seems to have a nice life. It's just her and her dog. She lives in an apartment and seems to have a good rapport with her downstairs neighbor, who seems like a nice older lady. And she has a good rapport with her coworkers at the radio station. And one day they get this record sent to them in this ornate packaging, and it's from a group called the Lords, which they then dub the Lords of Salem. And this album has an immediate effect on Heidi, played by Sherry Moon Zombie, and it just makes her feel really ill at ease. She starts having visions and horrible dreams, and she keeps seeing someone in one of the vacant apartments. But her landlady who lives downstairs says, no one's in that apartment. So the visions keep getting stranger. She keeps getting sicker. And then we learn that her landlady is not just a nice older lady. She is part of a coven. And this coven also consists of Dee Wallace and Patricia Quinn. And honestly, hearing Dee Wallace chant Hail Satan is just, I just needed that in my life. I didn't know it, but I did. I don't know why. So for the Halloween season, it's great. You've got a witch's coven, you've got ancient rituals, you've got diaries from back in the day. I've heard some people complain that this is incoherent, and maybe that's what I thought the first time I watched it, which is why I didn't like it so much, because there is a lot of just random imagery in there. But when I watched it the second time, I knew what the imagery was about. It's not exactly subtle. Maybe I was just a little off-put. Subtlety is not the language of Rob Zombie, and I am a fan of his movies.
It's not subtle. It really isn't.
But if you want that Salem, Massachusetts vibe, I would say check this one out. It just has this converging of kind of the old world and the new world, and then this character Heidi kind of caught in the middle because of her ancestry. So I don't know, if you have seen it and didn't care for it, maybe give it another shot. I can't promise you'll have a change of heart like I did, but I just really like the feel of this movie, and it feels like fall to me. I guess that's what all of these movies have in common. They all just feel like fall. And most of them do take place around Halloween anyway, so I would hope that they would feel like fall, or else they've missed the point. And my list would not be complete if I did not talk about 1985's Fright Night. I love this movie so much. William Ragsdale plays Charlie. He's a high school student who realizes that his neighbor is a vampire. And that vampire is played by Chris Sarandon, he's so good in this role. He's having fun. I love it. Of course, nobody believes Charlie that his neighbor is a vampire. And he thinks if he goes to his local horror movie host from like cable access TV, that he'll believe him and help him. Of course, he doesn't believe him. And this horror host is played by Roddy McDowall, who, again, I love him too. And this horror host is named Peter Vincent, which, again, I just love the homage. And of course, Charlie's friends are worried about him. They think he's losing his mind. So they convince Peter Vincent to go with them and Charlie to the neighbor's house to prove that this man is not a vampire. He'll have them do all the tests and the holy water and all that stuff, and they'll prove it. So, of course, Peter Vincent, again, anything for a buck, goes along with this, but in the midst of this fake test that he's doing, he realizes that Chris Sarandon is a vampire. And now he knows that they know that he is a vampire. I wouldn't call it a horror comedy, but it does have its comedic moments. One of the little tidbits that I've learned is that you'll see Chris Sarandon's character, he likes to eat apples. And one of the reasons that happened is because Chris Sarandon decided that somewhere in his vampire lineage, one of his ancestors was a fruit bat. That's just one of those little things that I love that, they just added. It's a great screenplay. The second one, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it just doesn't have what the first one had. It kind of tried, but it also tried to go in this just full-on horror comedy feel, and it just didn't work. Like, it's worth a watch, but it's not very good. But again, this is one of those ones I love to watch every year. Very 80s, but not in that cheesy, like, oh, you can tell this was made in the 80s kind of way. It's just for those of us that were alive during the 80s, we're like, yeah, that's the 80s. I did actually have a chance to meet Chris Sarandon at a convention, and he was really, really nice. Like, actually, if you can kind of see, here, that's where I got his autograph there. But he was just very nice. He's a very reserved person, but also very warm. I know some people, like myself, I'm a reserved person, and sometimes people misinterpret that as being like cold or aloof, and it's just you're just reserved. And that was him. He just was great. So those are my fall must watches. I usually get to them every fall. Again, like I said, I don't know how many I'll get to this year since I am doing the 100 horror movies in 92 days challenge, and right now it's kind of kicking my butt, so I gotta hurry up and watch my new horror movies before I can watch my favorites. But let me know what you think of my choices, and let me know what your must watches are. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed, who has liked, who has left a comment. It means the world to me. I'm a slow growing channel, but I'm getting there. So thank you to everyone who's done all those wonderful things. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And let me know what you think. So in the meantime, like what you like, don't be a dick, and empathy is a superpower.